Welcome to Caliva Atrebatum, otherwise known as Silchester, located about 5 miles north of Basingstoke in the county of Hampshire. It is adjacent to the county boundary with Berkshire, and about 9 miles southwest of Reading. Silchester is most notable for the archaeological site and Roman town of Caliva Atrebatum, an Iron Age and later Atrebates Celtic settlement first occupied by the Romans in about AD 45. The site includes what is considered the best preserved Roman town wall in Great Britain, and the remains of what may be one of the earliest Christian churches found in the British Isles. Today, the modern village lies just outside the ancient Roman walls and maintains a rural character, with a small population and local amenities including a village hall and a public house. There is access to walking trails on its extensive commons. The present village is centred on Silchester Common. It is about 1 mile west of the Church of England Parish Church and former manor house, now known as Manor Farm, which are in the eastern part of the former Roman town. There has been a 5-year archaeological research project to explore the landscape around Silchester Roman town, as well as its underlying late Iron Age oppidum, ancient Celtic fortified town. Up until 2020, the project has identified 671 new archaeological sites, from the Neolithic through to World War II, in addition to the 267 already known. A number of reports on the archaeological investigations have been published by Historic England. Caliva Atrebatum was an Iron Age oppidum, and subsequently a town in the Roman province of Britannia, and the Civitas capital of the Atrebates tribe. Its ruins are beneath and to the west of the Parish Church, which is itself just within the town wall, and about 1 mile to the east of the modern village. The site covers an area of over 107 acres within a polygonal earthwork. The earthworks and extensive ruined walls are still visible. The remains of the amphitheatre, where we are at the moment, was added about 70 to 80 AD and is situated outside the city walls. As you can see, it's clearly visible as a Roman amphitheatre. The area inside the town walls is now used for farming, and has no distinguishing features, other than the enclosed earthworks and walls, which the church and old manor house are in one corner. Silchester was the subject of antiquarian interest from the 16th century onwards. The bronze Silchester eagle was discovered in the Basilica at Caliva in 1866, and can now be seen in Reading Museum. The most extensive excavations were carried out by the Society of Antiquaries from 1890 until 1909, under George E. Fox. During the excavations carried out in 1893, the Silchester Ogham stone was located. Dated 500 AD, it is one of very few that has been found in England. It is now held in storage at the Reading Museum. The inscription on the Ogham stone wasn't in the Latin alphabet, but in Irish, and appears to be indicating that the property belonged to someone named Tebekatos. The precise identity of Tebekatos remains a mystery, but it is possible that he was a pilgrim or a mercenary. Analysis of plant remains shows that Kaliva residents had access to typical foods eaten in Roman Britain, such as cereals, coriander, and cultivated fruits. They also received imports of exotic medlar and mulberry fruits. Kaliva was finally abandoned in the 7th century, which is unusually late compared to other deserted Roman settlements. The remains of this large Roman amphitheatre of Kaliva Atrobatum are situated just outside the city's walls. At its peak, the stadium would have accommodated between 3,000 and 7,000 spectators, all gathered to watch gladiator combat, or bear fighting, and a range of other forms of entertainment. The original amphitheatre was built sometime between AD 55 and AD 75, and would have been a rather rudimentary structure made of earth and clay, with a central arena. Sometime in the 3rd century AD, the amphitheatre had somewhat of a facelift and a stone wall was built around the central arena. In addition to this, 2 new stadium entrances were built, and the shape of the arena changed to the more traditional elliptical layout. This suggests that Kaliva was thriving in the 3rd century AD. Little is known about the fate of the amphitheatre after the Roman withdrawal from Britain in 410 AD, although it is likely that it continued to be used by the local Britons, and soon after, the Anglo-Saxons. By the 12th century, it is thought that an early medieval castle stood in the center of the arena. Some historians argue that this castle was the long-lost Castellum de Silva, or the small castle in the woods which was taken by King Stephen in 1147 during the Anarchy. By this time, it is likely that the Roman walls of Silchester were being used as a military field camp. This was our best view of the Roman walls. We were unable to locate a public footpath gate that would enable us to get closer, although we know this is possible. There in the distance is the manor house. But we are now heading to St. Mary, the Virgin, Parish Church of Silchester. The Parish Church of St. Mary the Virgin, C of E, is just within the walls of the former Roman town, possibly on the site of a Roman temple. The building may contain some reused Roman materials. The building dates from the late 12th century. It has a north and south aisle. There is no chancel arch, and the chancel is longer than the nave. The wall of the south aisle was rebuilt in about the year 1325, incorporating an ogee, arched tomb recess, containing the effigy of a lady wearing a wimple. 2 new windows were added to the church in the 14th century, and 2 more including the perpendicular Gothic east window of the chancel in the 15th century. The church has a perpendicular Gothic screen. The pulpit was made in the early 18th century, but its tester is dated 1639. There is also a carved memorial cartouche to the Irish peer, Viscount O'Kerran, who died in 1712. The bell turret has a ring of 5 bells. 4 were cast by John Stairs of Aldbourne, Wiltshire, in 1744. The other was cast by William Taylor of Oxford in 1848. The yew tree in the churchyard of St. Mary the Virgin is believed to be over 400 years old. It is located within the Roman walls of Caliva Atrebatum, with the eastern wall forming part of the church boundary. The yew tree is situated outside the north porch. It was common in history to have a yew tree behind a boundary wall, in order to prevent the leaves being eaten by free-roaming cattle, since they are highly poisonous.